In the vast cosmic arena, Earth appears as a fragile blue sphere, a delicate oasis in the infinite expanse of space. This pale blue dot, as Carl Sagan famously described it, cradles all life as we know it, a sanctuary for countless species and ecosystems. Yet, our very existence is threatened by a danger entirely of our own making, nuclear war, a specter that looms over our collective future. The potential consequences of such a conflict are too dire to ignore, with the power to erase entire cities and civilizations in an instant. It is a threat to our past, present and future, jeopardizing the very fabric of human history and progress. We have a responsibility to understand this threat, and to work towards its complete eradication for the sake of all humanity. The destructive power of nuclear weapons surpasses any other weapon in human history, capable of causing unprecedented devastation. A single detonation can instantly obliterate a city, killing millions in a flash of blinding light and searing heat, leaving nothing but ashes and memories. But the horrors would not end there. The aftermath would be a nightmare of unimaginable proportions. The long-term consequences of nuclear war, including radiation sickness, environmental devastation and global famine, would continue to haunt our planet for generations to come, casting a long shadow over the future. The very survival of our species, and of countless other life forms, hangs in the balance, teetering on the edge of extinction. We stand at a crossroads, a pivotal moment in history where our choices will determine the fate of the world. One path leads to unimaginable destruction, the other to a future free from the threat of nuclear annihilation, a world where peace and prosperity can flourish. The choice is ours to make. Let us choose wisely for the sake of our planet, our children, and all future generations. Imagine a bright sunny day where the sky is clear and the city is bustling with life. Suddenly, without warning, the day turns into a nightmare. A blinding flash, brighter than 1,000 suns, fills the sky, leaving everyone momentarily blinded. This is the terrifying reality of a nuclear explosion, an event that changes everything in an instant. The initial blast wave, traveling faster than the speed of sound, pulverizes everything in its path. Buildings, once standing tall, crumble into dust. Trees, which have stood for decades, are uprooted and tossed aside like matchsticks, showing the sheer power of the blast. People caught in the open are vaporized instantly, leaving no trace behind. Those seeking shelter underground may initially believe they have survived the worst, but they will soon face the horrifying reality of their situation, trapped beneath tons of rubble. With fires raging above, they are left to face a slow and agonizing death, their hopes of rescue dwindling. The heat from the explosion is unlike anything experienced in nature, an inferno that consumes everything. It melts steel and glass, turning solid structures into rivers of molten material. It sets fire to anything combustible, igniting massive firestorms that rage through cities, consuming everything in their path, leaving nothing but ashes. The air itself becomes superheated, scorching the lungs of anyone unfortunate enough to inhale it, making survival nearly impossible. As the dust settles and the fires die down, a new threat emerges: radiation. Invisible and insidious, it seeps into the environment, contaminating everything it touches. People exposed to high levels of radiation experience a range of debilitating symptoms. Nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea are just the beginning. Their hair falls out, their skin becomes covered in burns and lesions, internal bleeding begins, and their organs start to shut down. Death, when it comes, is often slow and agonizing. Those who survive the initial blast and the acute effects of radiation poisoning face a lifetime of increased cancer risks. Genetic mutations, birth defects, and other long-term health problems plague survivors and their descendants. The invisible poison continues to wreak havoc for generations, a grim reminder of the day the world changed forever. The environmental consequences of nuclear war are no less terrifying than the immediate human toll. The explosions would loft massive amounts of soot and debris into the atmosphere, blocking out the sun and plunging the planet into a state of perpetual twilight. This nuclear winter, as it is known, would have devastating consequences for all life on Earth. Temperatures would plummet, leading to widespread crop failures and mass starvation. The delicate balance of ecosystems would be disrupted, potentially leading to the extinction of countless species. The very fabric of life on Earth would be irrevocably altered. The psychological scars of nuclear war would run deep. The trauma of witnessing such unimaginable destruction would leave survivors with deep emotional and psychological wounds. The loss of loved ones, the destruction of homes and communities, and the constant fear of radiation poisoning would create a pervasive sense of despair and hopelessness. Section 5. Global Fallout, a Planetary Crisis. The impact of nuclear war would not be confined to the countries directly involved in the conflict. Radioactive fallout, carried by wind currents, would spread across the globe, contaminating water supplies, soil, and food chains. Even countries far from the initial explosions would face the consequences. The global economy, already interconnected and interdependent, would collapse. Trade would grind to a halt. Financial markets would crash. The delicate balance of global power would be shattered, potentially leading to further conflict and instability. The international community would face unprecedented challenges in providing humanitarian aid and rebuilding shattered societies. The task would be daunting, perhaps even insurmountable given the scale of the devastation. Section 6. The Shadow of History. Lessons Unlearned. The specter of nuclear war has haunted humanity since the end of World War II. The detonation of atomic bombs over Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945 served as a stark warning to the world about the devastating power of these weapons. Yet, despite this horrific precedent, the world continued to build up its nuclear arsenals throughout the Cold War. The United States and the Soviet Union engaged in a dangerous arms race, amassing enough nuclear weapons to destroy each other many times over. The doctrine of mutually assured destruction, or MAD, emerged, a chilling logic that held that neither side would risk nuclear war because it would result in their own annihilation. While MAD may have prevented a global nuclear conflict, it did not eliminate the threat. The possibility of accidents, miscalculations, or unauthorized launches remained a constant danger. Section 7. A Crisis of Conscience, the Moral Imperative. The development and use of nuclear weapons raise profound moral and ethical questions. These questions are not just theoretical, they have real-world implications that affect millions of lives. Is it ever justifiable to use weapons that can inflict such indiscriminate suffering and death? The sheer scale of destruction caused by nuclear weapons is almost unimaginable. What responsibility do we have to future generations to prevent a nuclear holocaust that could jeopardize the very survival of our species? Our actions today will shape the world of tomorrow. These questions challenge us to confront the darkest aspects of human nature. They compel us to look within and question our own values and beliefs. They force us to consider the consequences of our actions on a global scale. The impact of nuclear weapons is not confined to one nation or one generation. We must acknowledge the inherent immorality of weapons that threaten the indiscriminate destruction of innocent lives and the poisoning of our planet for generations to come. The environmental impact alone is catastrophic. The pursuit of peace, disarmament, and the elimination of nuclear weapons is not merely a political goal, it is a moral imperative. It is a call to action for every individual who values life and peace. We have a responsibility to ourselves, to future generations, and to all life on Earth to choose a different path. A path free from the threat of nuclear annihilation. This is a choice that defines our humanity and our commitment to a better world. Section 8. Charting a Different Course, Prevention and Disarmament. The only true guarantee against nuclear war is the complete elimination of nuclear weapons. This may seem like an idealistic goal, but it is a necessary one. We must work tirelessly toward a world free from the threat of nuclear annihilation. The first step is to strengthen international treaties aimed at reducing and eventually eliminating nuclear arsenals. The Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, or NPT, has played a crucial role in preventing the spread of nuclear weapons. However, it is essential to ensure that all countries adhere to its provisions and that we work towards universal disarmament. We must also invest in diplomacy and dialogue. Open communication, mutual understanding, and a commitment to peaceful conflict resolution are essential in reducing tensions between nuclear-armed states. By fostering trust and cooperation, we can create a more secure world for all. Section 9. Conclusion: Our collective responsibility. The threat of nuclear war is a stark reminder of the fragility of human civilization. It is a challenge that transcends national borders, political ideologies, and cultural differences. It is a threat to our collective future, and it demands a collective response. We must choose to learn from the mistakes of the past and to forge a new path forward. We must choose to embrace diplomacy over conflict, cooperation over competition, and peace over destruction. The future of humanity depends on the choices we make today. Let us choose wisely. Let us choose peace.